Welcome back, NFL fans. In the famous words of Tom's former manager, good evening. I hope everyone is doing well. Welcome back to Hurdle the Line, the UK's leading NFL podcast, as voted by the AAW network. Speaking of network, we are actually a part of the AAW network. I promise there was no bias towards going towards that vote. Go check out all the links in the description to see all of the fun stuff the network does. But that's enough network talk. Let me introduce you to my amazing co-host today. Tom, how are you? Batch, how are you both?
I'm good, thanks, Ollie. Nice open there. So that has got us rolling, and natural as he is. But yeah, man, I'm good. I had a nice Easter. Sad that it's almost over, but excited to talk some NFL draft.
Evening, I'm good, thank you. Nice quiet Easter with the kids. Great.
Yep.
Need a weekend off now.
Well, unfortunately, this is Easter weekend over. So happy Easter to everyone out there. That we bank holiday here in the UK. I'm not sure how it works in the US for any US listeners. But I'm sure you get some time off work as well. Unfortunately, Batch, that is the time off work that you've had, and you've had to spend it with your family. So unless you want to get time by yourself, you're going to have to book that off work. You won't get given that by the government, unfortunately, with a mandated day off. But obviously, we are here to talk about the NFL. We've got a few news bits to get into first. We've also got the results of our Final Four 10-year tourney to announce. We last episode last week, we ourselves narrowed it down to a Final Four of the 10 best individual seasons from each team, from a player. We narrowed that down to a Final Four. We left it in the hands of the public to decide the winner. The public came through. We've got the results for that. We'll go through that. And then as we are approaching the draft, we thought, what else to talk about, guys? We have to talk about the draft. So we threw something together and we are going to look at the top 10 of the draft and kind of look at where we think the teams that are picking are going to go, what players they'll be looking at, but also give our own thoughts on what I suppose we would do as well, put our little input into it as well to make it a bit more fun. But as I said, we will start with the news. Batch, please kick us off with the news this week.
So, news this week. First one is preseason programs for each team were released on Friday, letting all the fans know every team's mini camps, OTAs, and mandatory mini camp dates. And then Rashi Rice, he faces no further discipline for the NFL, even though everyone knows he's had a tumultuous time.
To say the least, yeah.
Trayvon Walker has signed an extension of 4 years, 110 mil, with 77 million guaranteed, with 50 of it at signing. Not bad.
Not bad.
We always love to see people get their money on it, don't we?
Get your money. I mean, don't get me wrong. Myles Garrett had 4 less sacks last season than he has in his career, Trayvon Walker. But as someone that started his career as maybe that bust kind of, stigma around it was, oh, is he a bust? People think he's a bust. He has kicked on. Don't get me wrong. Maybe not number one pick level, but he's kicked on enough to get a big payday. So shout out to him. Shout out to his agent. As Tom said, we love to see people get paid.
Talking of agents, the best agent in the world is struck again. Kirk Cousins has signed for the Raiders with another 20 million guaranteed, which takes him above Tom Brady for guaranteed money in the NFL.
11 straight seasons of having a guaranteed salary. Shout out Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
Sad piece of news. Stephon Gilmore retired this week, which is, the NFL.
Defensive Player of the Year, Stephon Gilmore as well.
Super Bowl champion.
One of the better corners of his generation.
And actually saw some of his press conference. He got quite emotional. The room got a bit smoky.
I'm sure it did.
Kyle Duggar has signed a 1-year deal to the Bengals. 4 chappers this one. Atlanta have now launched their new uniforms for next season.
Bit disappointed, guys. Bit disappointed.
He wasn't too happy either.
And that's why
From
I
what we
feel even
heard
more.
from Chapman.
Yeah, I feel more happy to say this as I know he wasn't as happy as maybe he could have been. I've said this so many times. I've said this to you, Tom. I've said this to Chapman. Atlanta have the best base level like of what to work with to make the best uniforms in the NFL, in my opinion. They have such a good color scheme. They have such a good things, like just everything about the Falcons that they could use, and they just seem to just fall short every time. I don't know what I mean. The white on black looks nice. But I would have liked to see a helmet change as well, and we didn't get that. And the uniforms were slightly disappointing. As me and Tom have literally done multiple uniform ranking videos, we are experts at this. Trust me,
We
guys. No,
have.
not
We
I've
many
have.
watched
people
them.
know more about NFL uniforms than me and Tom. We were there literally going ranking, detailing on the jerseys. That's how much we got into it. And yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed. Don't get me wrong, they're not terrible, but I just feel like with what they can do, they fell short
They
again.
are not. They're not. They're not like the bees Steelers, but they're
No,
not. They're
no,
not great.
Oh my
no.
God, that
And
was
as you
horrendous.
said, Ollie, the colorway, it just has so much potential, and they
Yeah.
just don't seem to be able to get the most out of it. So yeah.
Next off, Ravens started their off-season program today because new coaches can start a week earlier than the rest of the NFL.
Yeah.
And Lamar turned up, believe it or not. With so
Were they
tomorrow,
expecting him not to?
well, he has previously not turned up for the first day of
Yeah, but
off-season program.
I suppose in the last few years that's been the contract stuff, hasn't it?
Mm.
Whereas
Yeah.
now he's got a contract. So if he didn't show up, I mean, at the end of the day,
He's
it's
still going
down
to
to
try
Batch.
and renegotiate that contract at some
Yeah,
point,
probably,
but yeah,
probably.
yeah.
But as you
And
said,
then,
Batch, all I think it's 11 teams. Is it 11 teams with new coach this year?
yeah, so Cardinals, Bills, Browns, Falcons, Raiders, Steelers, Dolphins, Giants, and Titans,
Yeah.
they start their preseason program
So
tomorrow.
Browns are yeah, I was going to say Browns are tomorrow, and we get no advantage of starting early because two other teams in our division also start early. So
And then the final bit of player and contract is Dexter Lawrence has requested a trade from the New York Giants.
yeah,
Who do we think he's going to go to then?
Brett
then
Veach, please call up the Giants and find how
I
much
think he
they want for him.
I think he goes to the New York Giants. I think they probably end
Yeah.
up getting that contract. It's a contract shoot. You don't let Dexter Lawrence walk out the door. Just pay him. I'm sure they'll figure out that contract.
Yeah, and if they, even if there's a hint of not, there will be a lot of teams calling the Giants for a player of his quality for what he can do on the field. We've seen how dominant he can be. So yeah, I'm sure it will get sorted with the Giants, but if not, there will be many, many suitors.
So, with that, do we see any hold-ins or holdouts starting with when the preseason starts? Contract-wise?
I'll be completely honest. Not really something. I'm too draft focused at the minute that I've
Mm.
not really been paying attention to any of that. So I can't
Fair
really
enough.
answer that for you.
And now, Ollie, you're going to go through some of the new rule changes, aren't you? You and Tom and I.
Yeah, I was supposed to have a look through this you were just talking. I obviously did not do that. We were sent obviously because, as I said, we are the leading NFL UK NFL podcast. So we were sent directly by the NFL the approved rule changes. We've all
Yeah,
had a
I got
good
the
read
email
through it.
from Roger Goodell last night.
Yeah, Roger Goodell himself sent these over. As I said, we've all had a good read through it for around 10 seconds, and no, all seriousness, there's a lot of admin stuff. There's a lot of just paperwork stuff that is not really interesting. The only things that stand out for me here, anyone else can jump in if they think differently. But two rule changes. One being the change to the onside kick rule. We had this ridiculous rule before where you could only do it in the fourth quarter. You could only do it if you were behind a certain amount of points. You could only do it if it was raining within the next hour, or an hour before the game. You should only do it if winds were between 16 miles an hour and 20. It was just ridiculous. There were so many rules on when you could do it. And now you can do it at any time in the game, but you still have to declare it, which I just don't understand. Why do I have to declare for something that when I line up to do it, what I'm doing anyway? So I don't really quite no one. Well, I suppose I say no one. Oh, very rarely does a team line up for an onside kick in a non-onside kick formation, but that's what brings the excitement for it. Hopefully, we get more onside kicks, but you still have to declare it. And then finally, we have got a change to the officiating rules, which now gives more. Basically, the kind of people upstairs can do more. They can get involved more, and they can correct decisions. And the way this is worded basically means that because we have this, Chapman spoke about it last week, we have this ongoing issue. We might have a lockout with the refs. They're arguing about salary. They want a 10% increase. That's quite a lot, in my opinion. But whatever, they're having this argument. We might be in a situation where we have temporary refs. I don't even know what we're calling these guys. Just temporary I say non-professional. The refs anyway are non-professional, so I don't really know what to call them. But not the same refs that we usually have that are just there on a temporary basis.
Just have a walk-on refs, basically.
Yeah, let's call it that. They basically put this in place to safeguard themselves from those guys making terrible decisions, which means that as I said, the upstairs can get involved and correct what they deem to be incorrect decisions. Is there anything else that, as I said, I know you all have read through this thoroughly. Is there anything else that stuck out to you guys?
I was just going to say the one about the competition committee has approved the rule to eliminate the kicking team's incentive to intentionally just kick the ball straight out of bounds when kicking off from the 50-yard line. So maybe that's going to mean that teams are going to play for field position as opposed to just kicking it straight out of bounds. So we'll have to see, but that might be one to watch. But other than that, I didn't really see anything.
Does anyone actually think that the whole kicking changes that we've seen in the last few years has worked? Because for me, it just feels like we made it so much more complicated, and we've got into a situation now where basically the end of games, it used to be you go down a score and you got to go 80 yards to go and tie the game. Now it's you got to go 15 yards to get your kicker into distance.
Into field goal range.
You're getting the ball at the 40-yard line. Kickers can kick it from the 50-yard line nowadays. I mean, if you're the Jacksonville Jaguars, you literally have to go. You can basically just let it go into the end zone, and you've got to go 10 yards, and that's it. Like it kind of it's made it a little bit more predictive. So I think they need to figure this out. Is this a step towards that? I doubt it, but we'll wait and see. And
we'll have to wait and see the percentage that do get kicked out of bounds, I guess, this season.
The other rule I saw was that now New York can get involved in disqualification if a player commits something that can get them disqualified. The off-field refs can now get involved and talk to the on-field refs, and it will be a loss of 15 yards and disqualification from the game if they're found to be flagrant.
Yeah, and I think the example we saw that was in the Super Bowl late in the game. It was getting quite chippy. Obviously, the Patriots were losing badly, as we love to see. But Josh Jobe, who played for the Seahawks, I think he was involved in a bit of a skirmish or what have you. He started it, but then the guy that he punched got ejected and then he didn't. So I think it's kind of to somewhat correct that.
Another example, the DK Metcalf thing where he punched the fan. No one got involved in that, but that could correct that.
Was that at the end of the game, or was that
that was
in the game?
I think it was in the game, but it wasn't on the field of play, so I don't really know what they can.
I was going to say, can you get ejected for punching a fan? I don't know, man.
I don't know.
I think you can. I mean, Eric Cantona got sent off.
He got sent off for scorpion kicking a fan.
Yeah, so I guess you can get disqualified for punching a fan.
And it was in game. Yeah, we've been notified by our various sources that it was in game.
Yeah, our sources from above, from New York, have come in and let us know. Exactly. But I'll be honest, I don't want to waste too much more time on the rule changes because, as I said, most of it is just a bit boring and kind of admin stuff. I'm glad you all picked out at least one that you enjoyed to prove to our producer that we did thoroughly read it. So well done, guys, for backing me up there. I did mention his name earlier, so I think it would be a disservice if I forgot to say it at the start. But you are used to obviously hearing Chapman's voice. This is not Chapman's voice
The
because
velvety
obviously
southern tones of
it's
Chapman.
a much better accent that you're hearing right now. So obviously that's how you can tell it's not Chapman's voice. But in case you're wondering, he has been banished from the podcast until our petrol prices come down. Until that happens, obviously, I'm not sure when that will happen, probably later rather than sooner. So basically, if you are in the US, write a letter to your local senator so we can get Chapman back on the podcast, get these gas prices lowered, and hopefully everything sorted within the world. But back to NFL, as I mentioned last week, we do have some results to reveal to the world, to the public, to both of you guys. I'm not entirely sure if you both saw the results of what this happened, but either way. So as I said at the start, we had last week's episode. If you haven't listened to it already, please go and listen to it. Not yet after this episode. Actually, now maybe before, because it will give context. Who cares? Just listen to both, please. We all had a job. We all had homework from our producer. We all picked a best season from all 32 teams in the last 10 years. Best individual season from a player within that team within the last 10 years. We had a whole bracket to do, March Madness is going on. We had some fun with the bracket, all of that stuff. I say we had some fun with the bracket. We had a lot of arguing with how we were going to do the bracket, but we finally got there in the end, guys. And as I said, we went through the matchups. We narrowed it down to a final four. Of course, we were fighting our own corners. We had guys that we wanted to get through into the final four. I was able to get my guy in here. Tom was able to get his guy in here. Batch as well helped me get our guy in here. And but then, as I said, the final four was down to the public. It was out of our hands, and the public did decide we have a winner. So the final four, guys, as it went with the final four matchup, the semi-final, shall we say. The first semi-final, 2018 Patrick Mahomes going up against 2024 Lamar Jackson. 2018 Patrick Mahomes won that one with a whooping 100% of the vote.
Wow.
And then the second one, we had 2025 Myles Garrett versus 2024 Christian McCaffrey. And no surprises again, Myles Garrett swept the vote with 100% of the votes. And we did actually get quite a lot of votes for those two ones. So shout out to everyone that did vote on the Twitter poll or X, or whatever you want to call it nowadays. And now, as I quickly just scroll up to find the results from the actual winner, obviously we had Myles Garrett 2025 going up against 2018 Patrick Mahomes. Results are in. Again, we had a good turnout for these votes, so shout out to everyone that went out and voted. This wasn't just like me voting, so like in case anyone thinks it was just me, that the only person that voted and that's how this person won. That's not what happens. We did get a good turnout. And drum roll, please, Tom. The winner of the Hurdle the Line 10-year tourney is 2025 Myles Garrett with a whopping 100% of the votes, which definitely was not skewed by me resharing this and directing some Browns fans to go and vote for this. That was definitely not what this was decided on. This was unbiased. This was objective reasoning. It was obviously not, because if it was, it would have been Patrick Mahomes. But Myles Garrett wins, Batch. How do we feel?
Very good. It's nice for the Browns not to be screwed by the Chiefs.
We finally win something, guys. We finally win something. Shout out to all the Browns fans that went and voted for Myles over Patrick Mahomes, and shout out to all the people that were involved in shadowing this Twitter post from the algorithm of Chiefs fans. I do appreciate those guys that got involved in doing that as well. But as I said, thank you to everyone that got involved and voted. We had a lot of fun doing that. Hope you guys had a lot of fun voting for it. And Myles Garrett is your winner of the 10-year tourney. Now, on to the crux of the episode, shall we say. The NFL draft is coming up, boys. Obviously, if you're doing an NFL podcast, there's nothing else you are talking about right now than the NFL draft. So instead of trying to be the edgy guys that we normally are, let's talk some NFL drafts. We have the top 10 this year in a draft. And I say the top 10, it's an interesting top 10 this year because we've got a team in here that we've not seen in here for a long time. to go along with some teams that we see in here every single year. So this is obviously slightly more interesting, shall I say, than sometimes. But we're going to go through the top 10 and basically look at where we think teams are looking, shall I say, what positions, what players we think they're going to be targeting. As I said, we're not going to be sat here breaking down the entire New York Jets depth chart and why they should and spending 20 minutes on why they should draft a corner over this position. This is just our general thoughts on it. And I suppose let's waste no time and jump straight ahead. Las Vegas Raiders, I'm going to kick it off with you, Batch.
Well, there's only one man.
I do wonder, where do we think that the Raiders are going?
Mendoza.
You think so?
Like from draft day, someone has got to post it and put Mendoza no matter what.
Yeah. I mean, it would be pretty silly to not take Fernando Mendoza here. Do they shock the world and not take Fernando Mendoza? Absolutely not. Just on a personal note, as someone that had Mendoza as my preseason QB1 last season, and got a lot of stick for that. I can brag a little bit here. I do feel pretty good with myself with how he's worked out. Don't get me wrong, he's not the best prospect we've seen come out in the last 5 years, but he's a very, very good quarterback prospect. Very, very much worthy of the number one overall pick. And whatever team had the number one overall pick this year, I think was going to be taking Fernando Mendoza. No different for the Raiders. Tom, how does it feel knowing that? I mean, this is the only pick that we know is in stone. He's going to be playing in your division. How do we feel about that?
Yeah, no, I've relished the challenge. I think the AFC West has got a lot more competitive over the last few seasons as well. With all the teams loading up. I mean, the Broncos are one of the best teams in the NFL now. I mean, the Chargers continue to charge her, but they've still got a great offensive line. If they didn't have two, well, I say great offensive line. If both their tackles weren't out the whole season, it might have been a slightly different result, even if the guards were absolutely terrible. But yeah, no, I relished the challenge. The Raiders, are desperate to get back into the limelight and be a team that is relevant, and they're hoping that this pick drives them towards that relevancy.
Yeah. Now, that was obviously the obvious one. I don't think anyone, as I said, no one thinks that they're going to go anywhere different. Now we get to actually the interesting bits and where we think these teams are going to go. And this one, to kick us off, shall I say, with the interesting one, might be one of the most interesting of them all, because they do have 2 first-round picks as well. That is, of course, the New York Jets picking at number 2 as well as picking at number 16. So I think you have to obviously take into account that they have that extra pick as well when you think about what they're going to do here. And they're in a spot where number 2 in a draft where, take away Mendoza, there's none of us are going to sit here and say they should draft Ty Simpson at number 2.
No.
So where do you think the Jets are going to be looking to go, Tom?
I think they're going to be looking to go edge. I just think with the quality of edge rushers that are available in this draft, especially the edge position where they've needed, they traded away, or at least I think they traded away Jermaine Johnson, who was a piece of them. Yep. They obviously lost Quinnen Williams last year as well. So that's kind of an area of need that they're massive, and especially as you say, with them picking at 16. And the receivers not being of the best quality in this class, they could potentially get a receiver at 16, but they could get one of the best. Well, they could get the best edge on the board at 2. So I just think that's the natural place of what would fit the Jets.
Yeah, I mean, they essentially have pick of the board. As we said, Mendoza's the only quarterback I have a first round grade on. He's gone. Obviously, sucks for the Jets. They miss out on the quarterback. Obviously, they would have loved to have Mendoza, but you now have pick of the board. It basically everyone else, all the other top prospects at their positions. And I think you kind of said it best there, Tom, where you look at the need, you look at edge. You said it there. They traded away Jermaine Johnson. Wide receiver, I suppose, because outside of Garrett Wilson, they haven't got much. I mean, I'm a big fan of AD Mitchell. I know you are as well, Tom, but it doesn't look like that other than that they really have much at wide receiver. So that could be at play. Inside offensive line, and they need a centre. But
Hmm.
are you picking a centre here at 2 overall? Obviously not. You mentioned it there. Are you taking a wide receiver? I wouldn't take any of these wide receivers number 2 overall. So I
No.
think naturally you just kind of narrow it down to, even if you are going BPA, you're going with, in my opinion, a player that would fill your need anyway, and that is edge. And to be honest, that's Arvell Reese.
Yeah.
So and I think with Arvell Reese as well is that he feels that edge role, because I do think in the NFL he projects best as an edge, and I do think he projects best as an edge in a 3-4. But he can also drop into cover. Like he's not like a guy that you're like, well, okay, if he has to drop into coverage, I suppose he did that a little bit. It's like, no, this is like, I don't want to go as far as say hybrid, because as I said, I do think will be a better edge and will predominantly be an edge. But this is a guy that can play linebacker as well. He is an athlete. He is one of these kind of freaks. So I think he can come in there, and you have the idea of him being that edge, and you're not your kind of number one edge guy within the next few years. But you can also kind of move him around and use him in different ways if that's not the case straight away. If the pass rush doesn't translate as quickly as you would like it, so yeah, I think you summed it up best there. I think Arbo Reese will be the pick there, but maybe they go David Bailey, maybe they go Ruben
Mm.
Bain. Who knows? Maybe
Yeah,
they fall
yeah.
in love with one of those guys. But I think edge is definitely the position that is they're going to be getting mocked the most, and I think the way they will go. On to the Cardinals, which is an interesting one for me, because I think this comes down to essentially like this is basically, do they take Francis Mawinoa, or do they just take whatever edge the Jets don't take? I think that's
Mm.
essentially where we're at with the Cardinals. Yes, they need quarterback. They're not going quarterback here at number 3. This could potentially be a trade spot. I wouldn't be
Mm.
surprised if maybe the Cardinals look to trade out of this pick, just because where they are and with all the needs that they have. But if they are forced to pick here at 3, I just don't see it being anything other than Francis Mawanoa or one
Mm.
of the edges. So
Ruben Bain.
you guys, if you have any different thoughts on that, I just don't see it be. It's Francis Mawanoa unless it's David Bailey. I think that's just what it is.
What about Ruben Bain?
I
He's
just
been
at 3. I mean, I like Ruben Bain, but I just don't know if a team's going to do it at 3. I'm not
Yeah, might be
100%
might be a
sure.
bit rich for their blood to pick at 3
You have to
potentially.
love him, but
Yeah.
obviously with the limitations that are clearly there in terms of the art, etc. like that. This is a guy that will be having to. I'm not saying that he's gonna. I'm not one of these guys that's like, oh, he's a bad player. He can't. He's not a first round pick. But you do have to consider the athletic profile and how that is quite a rare athletic profile to translate at the position. And I just feel like at 3, let's say the Jets take Arbel Reese and you're looking at David Bailey or Ruben Bain. I think that's why to be honest, I think that's why they go Francis Mawanoa. So that's
Mm.
why I'm there, because I'm not as high on David Bailey or Ruben Bain as maybe some others are. So I think they go Francis Mawanoa, but that's where I'm at. Anyone else think anything else on the Cardinals?
No, I definitely agree that they need offensive tackle help massively, especially because some of their picks recently just haven't really worked out. They picked Paris Johnson, didn't they?
And yeah,
And
and
he's done okay, but not brilliant. And then is he a right tackle or is he left tackle?
he left. So this is why Marino makes
Yeah.
is the pick for me, because you've obviously, as you said, you've got Paris Johnson at left tackle, who's, don't get me wrong, he's not been terrible, but he's not been great. You still want
Mm.
to see what you have in Paris Johnson at left tackle. Francis
Yeah.
Marino is a right tackle. You can you switch him over to left tackle? Maybe this is a
Mm.
situation that we see with Panay Sewell, where they're trying to move him 3-4 years into his career, but this is a situation where he can come in, play right tackle right away. And then if you do get into a situation where maybe Josh Simmons doesn't work out as you want it to, you do move him to left or whatever. But I just think
Josh Simmons, what are you talking about?
Josh Simmons.
He's
What am I
playing for
talking
the
about?
Chiefs, man.
Paris Johnson. All these left tackles from Ohio State, mate, that the Browns didn't draft. I get confused.
Brilliant.
But moving on to again another really interesting one here, because they kind of have needs everywhere, and they're in a spot where like there's kind of a player available, I suppose, shall we say, maybe at all of these spots. So where are we thinking with the Titans? Batch, what do you think the Titans are going to be
I think they
sat
go
looking at number 4?
defensive line, maybe
Yep,
edge even.
yep. Another team involved in
Whoever.
edge.
Yeah. So if Bailey goes to the Cards, then maybe Bain, whoever's not been picked yet out of those two edges goes to the Titans, because the Titans, you know, they're okay, and they've done quite reasonable in the free agency as well. So maybe they need another defensive pick and hope that he turns into a monster.
Yeah. Yeah, I think upside is probably I mean, as I said, they're in a difficult spot, I think, because it's like you could say, and I think edge is definitely probably one of their top three needs.
Mm,
Um, Obviously, that's made a little bit better with how they traded for Jermaine Johnson. Obviously, if they didn't
mm.
trade for Jermaine Johnson, we'd be sat here going, it's edge. They're going to
Yeah,
take
yeah, yeah,
whatever edge is there. Don't get
yeah.
me wrong, I think edge is still definitely one of the top options in play here. I mean, wide receiver, I don't know.
Mm.
You've got a couple of guys that you like in that room. Is it enough to maybe take one at four? I don't know. I think it's certainly in play. Again, another team that needs center inside offensive line help.
That's exactly where I thought to go is interior line. And one thing they can't do, and we've stressed this enough, me and you, Ollie, they cannot pick Jeremiah Love. Like they just
No,
can't.
no, you
Like
can't. No, God, no.
No,
they might want to. They might want to be like, oh, come on, get him a new weapon.
No,
But that
no,
would
no, no.
literally be, as you said to me, franchise malpractice. Like they have to go. I think their biggest need is interior offensive line because they need to protect Cam Ward. They obviously need to give him weapons as well. So that's something to take in mind. But if you can't protect your quarterback and allow him to do the great things that he can do, that he showed that he can do last year, then you're not going to be able to succeed. So I do think edge is a big need as well, but to be definitely for them. You know, they've got interior defensive. They've obviously got Jeffrey Simmons, you know, he's still a beast, but you know, on the edge they are lacking. And even though they traded for Jermaine Johnson, that's not, you know, a total answer. So I can see why they would, but I just think interior offensive line, like they just need to protect Cam Ward, see what they have in him.
And that's where I think they're in a tough spot because I mean, do you go Vade Leone here from Penn State? I mean, that's a reach for me,
Mm,
drafting him at number four. But then I suppose you can make the argument of do you draft Spencer Fanu? And, this is a guy that a lot of people are saying that they think will be projected as a guard. I know he's a guy that I think whoever drafts him will probably try him out at tackle first, as I think he's one of the best offensive line prospects in this class. It's just a matter of, I think, what will make him fall is the kind of question of does he play interior, does he play outside? And that's where I think the next two picks with the Titans and the Giants are going to be in play with Spencer
mm,
Fanu because it's one of those like we're okay with our tackles. We don't love them, but we're okay with them. Do you draft a Spencer Fanu, play him at guard first, and then maybe if all fails with the tackles, you move him to tackle? I don't know. Do you bring him in?
mm.
So this is just, and I think it will just be the value game for the Titans here. I hope, as you said, Tom, just about the value game here, and you take Jeremiah Love. Oh my word, that would be hilarious.
Yeah.
I hope they do. Don't get me wrong. I hope they take Jeremiah Love and keep passing these good players at premium positions down the board to the Browns. But yeah, you don't draft Jeremiah Love here. I think, as I said, I think it's the value game. They're going to sit there, see what edge falls to them. See if Mao is still on the board. Maybe they, as I said, they feel good about those tackles, but maybe they love Mao. I mean, Mao is a guy that people think can be a really good tackle, but maybe elite guard. So maybe they go and get
Mm,
Mawanoa and go, actually, we're going to move him to guard. So I think it's going to be a decision between, as you both said, edge or offensive line. I think it just has to be the two positions in play here. And if they do go Jeremiah Love, then God help Titans fans. Moving on to the Giants, I kind of gave a little bit away there with what I said with Spencer Fano, but where do you think the Giants are going, Tom?
yeah, I think either tackle. Well, I don't know because what's his name? Thingy. Who is their left tackle?
Andrew Thomas.
Andrew Thomas. Obviously he wasn't that healthy last year, but when he last was like fully healthy, you know,
Well, he hasn't been healthy for like 4 years, I think
I
it
know
feels like.
this is the only thing. Like when he's on the field, he's great, but he's also not on the field that much. So
Yeah.
you can't really rely on him fully. So I could see them going tackle. I could also see them going interior defensive line as well, potentially. Um, that's if Dexter Lawrence actually does end up getting traded. Um, But
I just feel like, I mean, who do you take interior defensive line here?
mm,
That's the. I mean, there is
yeah,
there's no
there
defensive
isn't
tackle I'm
really
taking
anyone in this
with the
stuff.
fifth pick here.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, as you said there, I think it's offensive line. If Mao and Noah falls to them, if Fano's there, I think they are definitely considering that.
Mm,
And then vice versa, I think if they don't feel great about that and they are forced to pick here at 5, I think they just go BPA and I think they just take Sonny Styles. I think, you know, I mean, the linebacker
mm.
room's not great.
Oh,
Just take the best linebacker in the draft. And in my opinion, you know, I've got a few draft people that I trust, and
And
one of them
Bobby
thinks that
Okereke left, didn't he? Right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm basing this, and someone, you know, that I trust on this draft stuff has Sonny Stars as the best player in the draft.
Mm.
So this is, you know, easily the best linebacker in the draft, easily one of the better players in the draft. Do you just go BPA? I feel like that's probably where they're going to go. I think, as you said, Tom, do they go for one of them tackles? Do they go D line in terms of like edge? Maybe if they thought, like, I
Mm.
wouldn't, but maybe they do. They seem to love, you know, drafting these defensive linemen. But I think it will come down to, as we both kind of said there, will does Noah or Fano there? If they love one of them, maybe they take them because they don't trust, you know, but they've got holes all over that offensive line. And the best thing about Noah and Fano this year is they're versatile guys that you know you could probably plug in at a minimum 2 different positions on that offensive line and them still be good. Um, or do they just take Sonny Styles? My guess is they take Sonny Styles.
What about Bats?
see,
What do you think?
well, you two were sitting there, you know, interior on offensive, interior defensive line, all that, and I was just about to go. Sonny Styles put the cat amongst the pigeons, and someone stole my thunder there. Cheers, Oliver.
No worries.
Sonny
Now,
Styles.
yeah, I mean, yeah, it just if you don't know what to do, take the best player that's available, and that would 100% be Sonny Styles, I think, in this position. Now, to chew both of your ears off, Cleveland are sat here at number 6. And Bax, you'll know this more than anyone. I have gone back and forth with many people within Brown's social media on
Oh
what
yes,
he should be
often
doing
right
with
in the
this number
tweets.
6 pick. Some might say I've been getting a little bit too cheeky with it, but that's all having fun. It's all fun and games. And now this is another team that we obviously have to take into consideration that they also have another first round pick, not quite as high as the Jets at 16, but the Browns are picking at 24 as well. The Browns' two biggest needs to anyone asking, other than obviously quarterback, but you know, there's a large proportion of people that seem to think that they have a quarterback there, but I'm sure me and Bats would disagree. Um, is, of course, offensive tackle and wide receiver. Now, this has become what I have called the Timu version of Jamar Chase and Penny Sewell. Browns fans are doing Carnell Tate versus who insert name Monroe Phelan, Spencer Fanu, or Mao and Noah. Now, Bats, you know where I'm at. Tom, I don't know if you know where I'm at. Listeners, let me tell you where I'm at. I am one of these people in Brown spaces that believes that, I mean, don't get me wrong, first and foremost, they should just trade this pick anyway. That's what I think they're going to do. That's what I hope they will do. I think that's what happens. I'm
Kind
not
of
going to
what
play
Barry
the
hinted
easy
at.
card and do that in this discussion because that would just be cheating. So let's just assume they do have to pick at 6. They are forced to pick at 6. If it comes down to me, I'm looking at wide receivers. I'm looking at offensive tackles. Don't get me wrong. I'm not someone that subscribes to the idea that, you know, I should just take a tackle because I need a tackle. I would never enter a draft going, well, I need a left tackle. Let me take a left tackle. Don't just take a left tackle to say you took a left tackle.
Mm.
So with all of that being said, I do talk about this with, you know, I would draft some of these tackles at 6. I wouldn't draft any of these wide receivers at 6. I believe that the gap between what offensive tackle you can get at 6, whether or not that's a reach or not, whatever you want to say, is far bigger than the tackle you could get at 24 versus 6, than the gap between what wide receiver you could reach for at 6 versus what wide receiver you could get to at 24. So I'm probably another at least 10 times, Fletch. Thank you for asking. So that's where I'm at. If I'm forced to pick here for the Browns, I would probably just go and, I mean, if Mao Noah's here, I'm taking Mao Noah. I don't think he will be here. I'll be shocked if he's here. So for me, I would take Monroe Freeling at 6 if I have to. Don't get me wrong, would love to trade back and get him, but if I'm forced to pick at 6, I would rather take Monroe Freeling than a Carnell Tate or a Lemon or a Tyson, shall we say. Um, and then obviously target wide receiver at 24. Batch, obviously, as the resident Browns fan, do you disagree with me? Would you rather go Carnell Tate at 6, or do
Nope.
you think?
I'm very much Monroe Freeling on that.
Yeah,
If we are drafting at 6, um, the only other theory I've seen is that you never know. We could get a healthy Dewan Jones back, and they could put him in at left tackle. But getting him healthy seems to be a very
yeah,
challenging
three
thing.
seasons that he hasn't finished a single season.
But yeah, Monroe Freeling for me every day of the week.
And don't get me wrong, there is a wild card. I mean, Andrew Berry, more than any GM in the NFL, loves to throw people. Like, you can't predict what that. Don't take anything he says with literally. Other than the fact that he said that they won't be pitching at 6, so that's obviously why they won't be pitching at 6. But there is obviously a wild card here that they go and just take Caleb Downs, or they go and take Mansour Delane. I would not be that shocked if that was the case. And as I said, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not gonna be angry if they take Carnell Tate at 6. Like, I'm an Ohio State fan. I think he's a first round wide receiver. I don't think he's a top 10 pick, but I think he's a first round wide receiver. We've had terrible wide receivers in this room. I'm not going to be there going, oh no, 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 no. But my preference would be Monroe Freeling. I wouldn't. I mean, even Spencer Fanu, I would definitely take here at 6 as well. I obviously have concerns about whether he can play left tackle, but I think he's one of the best offensive linemen in this class. Whether that's at right tackle, whether that's at guard, we need help across that whole line. So yeah, that's where I'm at with that. Let's not waste too many time and bore too many more people
I was
with the
going to say,
Browns.
is this turning into a Browns podcast?
Yeah, we will stop that. And Tom, don't worry, you will get your 30 seconds on the Chiefs. So moving on to the Washington Commanders. Now, this is, I think, another interesting one. I will, just because I will kick this off, obviously, so yeah, Batch, what are you thinking with the Washington Commanders?
Jeremiah Love.
You think this is where they do it?
Yes. He, Bill wasn't as productive as they thought he would be last season. They thought it'd be their little bell cow. Plus, it was Austin Eckler who got injured, and
Yeah,
good
horrific injury. Yeah,
good chance he never sees the field again. Unfortunately, which is such a shame because he is a good running back. But why not roll a dice?
They lost Chris Rodriguez as well, right?
Yes.
He signed elsewhere. I don't know. I don't know.
Jeremiah Love, though. Jeremiah Love. This is where I think he goes.
I can't believe that as a Browns fan, you would have so much lack of confidence in Jerome Ford going over to Washington and taking that running back one role.
I was going to say, who have they got? Is Jerome Ford?
They did sign Rashad White as well.
Yeah, Rashad White, and so the running back room isn't like terrible. No. Great.
It isn't bare. Like, don't get me wrong. It isn't bare bones, but let's be honest.
Argument being,
if you're picking 7 and Love's still on the board, why not?
They're in that slot where it's like, right, social media won't completely destroy us for taking a running back here. Do you know what I'm saying? It's one of them spots where it's like we won't get completely destroyed, if the Cardinals do it, or the Titans do it, or God forbid the Jets do it. But I mean, it's still. I mean, it's going to be. I think that's one of the most interesting things of the draft, and I'm sure we'll talk about this in future episodes. Is what happens with Jeremiah Love and where he does go, because I just feel like within that top 10, there's too many teams that, like, if you want to put him there, you're like, yeah, but if they do that, man, if they do that, then like, my God, they need a good explanation for it. And like this is another team as well where it's like they're just not good enough. Like,
this is what I literally wrote on it. I literally put basically everyone. I said they basically need everyone. Like, they need a bit of everything. Like, they need a wide receiver too. They need pass rush. I know they got OA, but still, like they need more. Like I think they got the least amount of sacks in the NFL last season.
Well, they need corners,
hoping,
they need safeties,
Yeah,
they
they
need
need a
linebackers.
lot.
Well, maybe not linebackers actually, because they got obviously Frankie Louvu and they did bring in Chanel from the Chiefs, didn't they? But
Yeah.
they need interior offensive line. I mean, the only position I can sit here right now and say you feel comfortable as a Commanders fan is quarterback. And even then,
Mm.
I think there's going to be some Commanders fans that are going, I think we might have got a little bit ahead of ourselves after that rookie season, but that's neither
Mm.
here nor there. And tackle. I think that's pretty much the only position that you can sit there and go, okay, I actually feel comfortable about going into this. So I think everything is at play here. And this is not me saying I don't think they're going to do it, Batch, because I think there is definitely more chance. There's definitely a chance they'll do it. And I think there's plenty of teams that are going to be in there sitting there going, do we do it? I don't know. I mean, if one of the edges fall, I feel like they do that. You know,
Yeah.
if David Bailey falls to 7, I feel like they'll take David Bailey.
100%.
Maybe they take Ruben Bain. I expect Ruben Bain to be hit. Maybe they do that. I wouldn't be surprised if they go for Caleb Downs or Mansour Delane. I think like any player within that kind of 5 to that we've discussed earlier, you know, even Sonny Styles, if he falls there, any player within that kind of 5 to 12 range, I think is in play for them. And just with how many needs they have across that
I say,
roster.
could you
So
imagine Sonny Stars getting picked by the Commanders and then having Bobby Wagner as the guy that's teaching you in the
yeah,
NFL? Like
yeah.
that would be insane.
Right. So that's another interesting one, as I said. Now, I was going to throw this to Tom, but I'm going to throw the next one to Tom. So I'm going to go straight. Actually, I'll just anyone can intercept on this one. So the Saints. I will just quickly kick off by saying I think there's just probably 2 options here, and that's you take an edge if an edge is there, or you draft a weapon for Tyler
Oh,
Shook. I think
100%.
that's where they're at.
yeah, yeah, I'm with you there.
I agree.
I mean, some
Wide receiver, edge rusher, basically.
Yeah, I mean, some people are penciling Jeremiah Love here if he falls there, but I mean, you just brought in Travis Etienne, and you've also got Kamara, who don't get me wrong, is aging, but like, are you really bringing a running back into that room? I just don't think so. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if none of the wide receivers are gone by this pick, and they can have their pick of the wide receivers. They can go Tate, they can go Lemon, they can go Tyson, they can go whatever they want to do here. Sorry, yes, you are right. It is Devin Achan, who has come out and obviously corrected everyone. It is not Travis Etienne, it is Travis Achan.
That's what would
So
make it even funnier if he was Travis Achan and then it was Devon like ETN instead
that
of
would be quite funny. That would be quite funny. And that is why you have a producer. Thank you very much, super producer, Fletch.
See, Chapman's not the only one that struggles with it. There you go.
Yeah, there we
Chapman
go.
can feel
Well,
you
Fletch,
now.
if you are there, we know you're there now because you've messaged, so you have messed up here. But I would like, if you can jump in for 30 seconds, Fletch. I have one question I would like to put to you about the New Orleans Saints. Is he going to show? Is he not? Drum roll, please. Da, 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 da. I don't. Oh, here we go. Here we go, guys. We have here he is, ready for the game tonight in all of his gear. Chapman up. What am I, guys? I'm messing all the names up. There we go. Right. Don't worry, you're not banned because of the petrol prices. I promise. Where is Mrs. Fletch? Is she got anyone that she's going?
Over
No, I don't mean physically. Where is Mrs. Fletch? I mean, where is she? Is there anyone that she has said to you in all of the names that you have been
Right.
talking about in the college pods, in the NFL pods, that she's gone? That's the one I want.
Talk among yourselves for 20 seconds. I'll go do the groundwork.
Oh, here
Yeah,
we
you
go.
go do the groundwork because
Here
we
we
do
go.
have to find out who our resident Saints fan has.
This
But
is
as I said, I think for me, if I was a Saints fan, you're looking at maybe Edge. I say maybe Edge, probably Edge, or a weapon for Tyler Shook, and it's probably going to be one of those wide receivers. I think you definitely will have the pick of the 3 here. I just don't see. I mean, don't get me wrong. Maybe one team goes, here we go. We have the answers. Where is Mrs. Fletch at?
If available, Jeremiah Love.
Okie dokie. Right. Don't show her this podcast.
Because so she agrees with the whole obviously as you put forward, because she had to I will give her all of the credit because obviously my last 2 months of my life have been focused all around her. She's picked up through osmosis a lot of it,
Yeah.
but has been paying attention to some of the Saints draft stuff, aware of where Alvin Kamara is in your career, aware of
Yeah, yeah,
kind of
yeah.
what Achan's going to bring. With Jeremiah Love being the home run hitter that he is, and potentially, like if you look at most, if you go off pure talent, right,
Yeah,
potentially
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
number one prospect in the draft. So she's very much um, it you. I know it's true because her favorite player ever is Alvin Kamara, so it must hurt
Yeah,
to
you
say.
want the next Alvin Kamara, and this is
Yeah.
someone that has a similar skill set to an Alvin Kamara in terms of catching passes out of the backfield. I get it, I completely get it, and this is one of them things where I think Jeremiah Love is so polarizing because we've all gone through it here, and I think this is a funny kind of difference that we get, and I've noticed that a lot of people, if I do see, especially Browns fan, I mean, people are talking about the Browns drafting a running back at 6, that would be hilarious. Um, and obviously, and most of these people, and I think like Americans are more susceptible to the idea of drafting whereas I feel like us UK fans, we have like, it's almost as if all of our first introduction to running backs was the YouTuber telling us that running backs don't matter because, like, I feel are we just too practical as British people where we're like, you just can't draft the running back this high. Like, I don't
Like,
know what it is, but
Do you know, weirdly enough, I was thinking about this the other day. Is like, how can I explain to a mate what taking a running back this high is like? It's like, imagine you go into the summer transfer
oh,
window and your club's biggest expenditure, you splash the cash on a right back, right?
mm,
I don't
Could be
even know,
Kieran.
I don't even feel like, I feel like it's like smashing the like. I don't even know if that does it justice. I was going to say
It,
goalie, but then even goalie nowadays with what it's like spending the most money on the assistant coach.
like, but
mm.
you could come in
Do you know what I mean? It's just like I know what you
every
mean. Yeah,
every generation's had one or two right backs who have genuinely been world class
yeah,
football
yeah, yeah,
players or
yeah,
like
yeah.
extremely good football players, and even look at like I don't. The only one that can come to mind right this very second is like your Kyle Walkers or your Kyle Trippiers, right? Kieran
Harry
Trippiers
Neville's
even
obviously.
like just excellent players. You wouldn't really think twice about having them in your team. Fantastic players, but would you want that player being the most expensive on your team or someone you would give up
Yeah,
the
Mm,
yeah, yeah,
most you've spent in a summer
mm.
for? Like
yeah.
probably not. That's what you
Yeah.
want. That's you want to get strikers in, you want
And
to get wingers in, you want to get attacking
uh,
midfielders for that kind of price.
yeah, and people might, anyone listening that is like, well, what are you talking about? Like a running back is such a feature part of your offense that's not comparable to like what I mean in just the most quick, simple possible way I can explain what it is. I mean, if you're drafting a running back in the top 10, that running back needs to be a top 5 running back in the NFL,
Mm,
like within a year, because what you're paying him already day one is pretty much top 5 to 6 running back money if you're drafting him in the top, especially in the top 5. So if you draft a running back top 10, I mean, he has to be a top 5 running back within a year. You draft him top 5, he needs to be one of the best running backs in the NFL pretty much immediately because that's what you're paying for.
yeah.
When
No,
it comes down to a value game, as I said, maybe because we're British, we invest a little bit more into that than maybe some of our friends from across the pond. But you just you can't draft a running back in the top 10 unless you're like a team that got the top 10 pick because of a trade. You're actually a good
Mm,
team. You're sorted at all other positions, but you need a running back. Like, fair enough. I understand that. But like every other situation, if you're a bad team, why are you taking a running back is reliant on so many other things, i.e., especially an offensive line. If you're one of these bad teams, why are you taking a running back? It's just, I mean, look in
right.
the last few years at the teams that have taken running backs in the
Ginty.
top 10,
To
right?
Ashton Ginty.
Falcons, how many playoff wins have they got? What did the Raiders do last year with Ginchi? They got the number one pick. Like if you are drafting, if you're a bad team and you're drafting a running back, it's not really doing anything for your team.
um, if I'm backing myself up, if I'm backing myself into the corner of the right back comparison, which
Yep, yep,
might probably only have come up because it's RB and RB. But
yep. Love it.
if you say that, like you want a running, if you're going to draft a running back and you're going to put those kind of assets into a running back, you want them to be able to catch passes, right? You want them to be a threat in the passing game as much as they are a threat in the running game. Let me go on to the right back. If you're going to put that much money into a right back, they're going to be a winger who can defend.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
They're going
yeah,
to be
yeah.
a
Kyle
winger
Walker.
whose heat map is slightly further behind your other winger. They need to be able to attack within that, and be part of the team's attacks. Um,
And and
They
that's
have to
like,
do more than just that one thing.
and that's the Derrick Henry thing. Just like I've always had this like back and forth with people. It's like as good as Derrick Henry is, like do you draft him top five even if you know what he is? Like, do you know what I mean? It's like as you say, it's just do you spend that capital on that? I mean, Derrick Henry, yes, I think we'd all sit here and
Yeah, I
say
think you
to
do.
get
I
five
think
years
if
of
you're
prime.
Derek Henry, you do. But
To
yeah,
sit here and get five prime years of Derrick Henry, you probably would do it. But as I said, it's an interesting conversation that I'm sure we are going to touch on throughout the the coming weeks leading up to the draft and even after the draft with whatever team does it. Fletch, thank you so much for going and getting the opinion, highly valued opinion of Mrs. Fletch.
what
She should do at number 8. Now, we spent a lot of time, so Tom, keep this quick, mate. Come on. Chiefs at number 9. Where are we
I'll keep
thinking?
it as quick as you did when talking
I
about the
know, I
Browns.
know, I know where you. I think I know where you're going, but let the world know where you're thinking with the Chiefs.
Yeah, I mean, it obviously it depends on what is left on the board. But in terms of the needs for the Chiefs, I mean, the biggest need right now is probably corner, with the whole corner, basically every single corner leaving the Chiefs. Outside, like Noel Williams is going to be CB1 going into next season, and that
Yep.
terrifies me, even though he did have a very good rookie season. So that's definitely an area of need that they have. So I think they probably. If the players that have gone have already gone, if Ruben Bain's still there, I think they kind of consider that, because I think they need edge help, especially with Chris Jones getting a bit older. George Karlaftis being a good player, but you need some more juice there, and that kind of proved last season. So I think if Ruben Bay's still there, that's some the conversation. But I think they go cornerback here, and I think they go Mansour Delane out of LSU.
Yeah, I mean, because it's one of them, and I kind of mentioned it earlier. Like when you got a team like the Chiefs pitting in the top 10, a team that doesn't normally pit in the top 10, a team that expects not to be pitting in the top 10 at any time soon. When you're in this spot, I just feel like you just have to go BP. Like you don't know when you're going to be in this spot again. Like, so you just need to do you know what I mean? Like you need to go BPA. Like it's
Yeah,
quite rare that you can get a top 10 player at pick 28. Don't get me wrong, it happens. The Chiefs have shown what they can do with drafting corners that late in the draft. But when you're this like, don't get me wrong, it's not a top 5 pick, but when you're at 9, where as we said, you don't expect to be here again soon, you got to take the best player on the board here. And I think thankfully for you guys is that the board will fall to where the best player on the board probably is your biggest need, which is cornerback, which is Mansour
mm.
Delane. I would be slightly worried, as I said, maybe one team before you does it. I mean, there's a wild card. I mean, the Browns, as I said, I wouldn't be shocked if the Browns did it.
Mm.
But I feel like this is, as I said, this is the perfect spot. It's one of them times where it's like it all kind of aligns. Where it's like, in my opinion, it's BPA essentially. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I think Caleb Downs is a better player,
Yeah.
but that's certainly you could go Caleb Downs as well. Maybe who knows?
Mm.
But it's BPA in terms of this is the one of 2, 3 best players available here, and it feels that need for you guys as well.
Yeah, well,
And you
that's the
just
thing. I didn't just write corner. I wrote DB because, as you said,
yeah
Like Caleb Downs, if you're really in love with that, player, they need safety help as well. So,
yeah
with obviously Brian Cook going over to the Bengals, and Chamari Connor's a okay player, but to him to be a safety, it's your starting safety.
yeah.
Terrifies me just thinking about it. To be honest, so.
And one last question I have for you about the Chiefs, Tom, is
Hmm.
what are you doing here at 9 if maybe Mawanoa's there somehow? What are you doing if
Mm.
Spencer Fanu's there somehow? Like, are you maybe like if one of these tackles are there, would you do it?
It's yeah. I think you probably do, if it's the smart move, because you can never have too much help on the offensive line anyway. Um, and as proved last season, the injuries, I mean, decimated the Chiefs on the offensive line the second half of the season. Not the reason why they were out of the playoffs, but a contributing factor nonetheless. So if one of those guys is available, then even though it's not the sexiest pick, it's definitely a smart pick. But I don't think they will be available, so that's why I
Yeah.
would say DB instead. But if they are, then definitely,
And
yeah.
that was a lie because I have one more quick one because as it just came to my head, obviously. What about one of these wide receivers? What if you get to 9 and all 3 wide receivers are on the board? Because I know what the Chiefs are like, and don't get me wrong, I don't think you should
Yeah.
because I just don't think you need to. But like, I know that the temptation is going to be there of like, we've still got Mahomes. I know we have all of these holes, but we still have Mahomes. When you have Mahomes, we expect to be, be able to win a Super Bowl any given year. Let's go get a weapon. What do you think about that?
I see Chiefs fans clamoring for this to be like, oh,
Or Jeremiah Love, by the way. Or Jeremiah
yeah, I
Love.
mean, Jeremiah Love would be the ultimate,
We think
that
we
would
can
be the
still win
ultimate
now.
luxury pick, basically.
That
Even
would
though
be the
we've just
Chiefs.
paid a running back, like 12 to 15 million
Yeah,
a year
yeah,
in
yeah.
Kenneth
That
Walker,
would be
so
the
that
Chiefs
would
going. We
again be
think
a
we can
very
win right now.
interesting one.
Yeah, yeah,
And it would be very against Andy Reid's philosophy of basically just huck that ball down the field and don't give it to the running back.
yeah,
But yeah, so I don't I don't expect that to happen. But I mean, it would be. I can understand why people think that the Chiefs could pick a wide receiver. I just don't
yeah,
think. I personally would like for them to maybe trade up from 29 and maybe try and get Boston because I just think he fits the skill set of what the Chiefs need massively, rather than one of these so-called top guys, the Carnell Tate, the Makai Lemon,
yeah.
but then again, if there's anything that the Chiefs have proven, the guys who are head cases seem to somehow work in Kansas City. Tyreek
Mackay Lemon,
Hill
welcome to
and
Kansas.
Travis Kelce, the prime candidates of that one. So if Makai Lemon goes, I wouldn't hate it, but I don't think that's going to happen either. So
Yeah. So moving on to our last one. Obviously, I'll bring you in here, Batch, in a second. Another team in our division, the Cincinnati Bengals, another team that, I mean, people can say that they shouldn't be picking top 10 and maybe they don't expect to be picking top 10. But, if it's me, I'm going, well, you're not the Chiefs, guys, chill out. I could definitely see you back in the top 10 anytime soon. But I mean, just quickly on the, I mean, we both kind of mentioned it there, Tom, with the DB, Mansour Delane, Caleb Downs. To me, this is just they pick whoever you don't pick there.
yeah, basically
but
that's
Yeah.
what I've got.
but
Yeah.
but where are you thinking there, Batch? And are you same with me where you're worried about um, Ohio State's very own Caleb Downs staying in Ohio and going to Cincinnati?
Oh yeah, yeah. That's who I was gonna say, Caleb Downs, because let's be honest, their defensive need is they thought they would get rid of their defensive coach last season and it would all of a sudden help. And Lou Amaruno, is it Amaruno?
Lou Anarumo, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, they thought they could get rid of him and it would be brilliant. And it wasn't great. They are
Oh, it
still,
wasn't just not great, it was terrible.
yeah,
Yeah.
they still need defensive help. And Caleb Downs, if he's available at 10, he stays in Ohio and goes to Cincinnati.
Yeah,
There is
it's another. Sorry, carry on.
that, like you said, pointed out though, whoever the Chiefs don't take, whether it's Caleb Downs, Mansour Delane, they'll
Yeah.
take either or.
Yeah, yeah, the defense is so bad. They need help all over the defense. I wouldn't be shocked if they went Ruben Bain here. I wouldn't be shocked if they went David Bailey if he fell here. But the secondary in particular was just so bad, so bad, and it just feels like they are going to take Mansour Delane, Caleb Downs, whoever it isn't taking here. Caleb Downs, another guy similar with Jeremiah Love, where it's interesting because this is a top 3 player in the draft that is not going to get drafted top 3 because he plays safety. So it's another one of those things of when does a team do it? Safety maybe, I mean, not maybe for me, more so I can argue I'm taking the safety before I take the running back because this isn't just safety. This is a guy that, don't get me wrong, you want him to play closer to the box, but if he has to, he can play free safety. He can play nickel if you really need him to. This is a guy that can play multiple roles in that secondary and is one of the best players in the draft. And I hope that one team does it before the Bengals. I just don't want to see the Bengals get a really, really good football player in Caleb Downs. But that's the top 10. As I said, we will obviously talk more on the draft, on Hurdle the Line in the coming weeks. We'll maybe do a kind of not straight 11 to 32, but we'll talk about the rest of the kind of first round, all of these kind of prospects, where we're looking at for the teams, all of the best storylines, etc., etc. And before we finish, guys, I'm going to kick one more question to you both to do with this top 10. And that is, if there is a team that is going to trade up into the top 10 of this draft, who do you think it will be?
The Cowboys. And I think they
Fair
trade up,
enough.
and I would hate to see this. And I know they gave Javonte Williams some money or whatever, but I think Jeremiah Love with the star on his helmet with that
So
offense would be insane.
if they want to come up to 6 for Jeremiah Love, then they can be my guest.
Yeah,
That would be insane. I mean, talking
that would
about
be
a team,
insane. That
talking
would be
about a
insane.
team taking the running back in the top 10 picks here, let
Yeah.
alone trading up to
Yeah.
take the running back.
Yeah.
That would be pretty insane. I mean, for
Or
me,
even trading up for Sunny Stars as well.
yeah. I mean, that's who it is for me. I feel like if they're going to trade up, they're going to either trade up to 3 with the Cardinals and take, either Arbel Reese if the Jets don't take him, maybe David Bailey, or as you just said, there, Sonny Styles, or maybe they'd come up to 6 with the Browns. Obviously, that's Batch. You'll know. Obviously, this has been floated around a lot of people. As I mentioned earlier, I don't expect the Browns to pick at 6. One of the most common trade partners that they've been kind of linked with is the Cowboys. Do they come up to 6 if Sonny Styles is there? Do they come up to 6 if David Bailey's there? That will obviously be interesting to see. If they do come up to 6, then they can either give us straight up 12 and 20 for 6, or 12 and a future first. I've seen some kind of predictions where they're saying 12 and 20 for 6 and 24, which is just the most hilarious trade proposal I've ever seen, which would just get everyone fired in Cleveland, because that doesn't even make any sense. But yeah, I mean, I think the Cowboys probably more than it. But I do think one wild card team could be the Rams. Just because it's the Rams. And it's quite rare that they have ammo. So maybe if
I
they
could
fall
see
in
them
love with
doing
the
that for maybe one of the wide receivers.
Yeah.
Because
or maybe
obviously
a
they've
tackle.
got yeah. Did
Yeah,
Rob
if they're
Havenstein
gonna-
retire, right?
I think so.
Yeah, and he was the right tackle for them
But
since
even if he didn't, he's
St.
bloody
Louis
old.
days.
So
Yeah.
Yeah,
and Batch, to
Go on,
you.
if anyone's gonna trade up, then yeah, I think the Rams just like to do things very individually anyway, and they've got the Falcons' first round pick.
Yep.
which-
No, they
no,
well, no, sorry, they have the Falcons, but they traded their own pick to the Chiefs, didn't they?
yes.
So they haven't got
So
another first to work with, but I know what you mean.
they've got the Falcons pick for 13,
Yeah.
which, let's be honest, the Rams usually are quite good at finding depth later anyway. So
Yeah, I was going to say,
if they're going to trade up, then they would happily probably give up their 13, trade up, and then do what they usually do. Oh, there
don't get me
is
wrong.
one thing
Sorry,
that
carry on.
we never mentioned. Let's be honest, they've got a little bit of a loose cannon at their wide receiver, who's now in rehab.
Yep.
So, maybe they even push a boat out and go for another wide receiver.
If they do go wide receiver, I don't expect them to trade. I mean, I was going to say, like, while I think, I'm the one that mentioned them as a team that to trade up, I do also think like 13 is a good spot to sit there and just see what wide receiver or offensive tackle falls back to. And just one last team that I wouldn't be surprised coming up would be the Lions. I wouldn't be surprised if the Lions come up for one of those tackles, because I feel like they're sat there at
good
17
point.
and they're going,
Yeah,
we're worried about none of these guys making it here. I mean, Caleb Lomu is probably the best. Well, actually, that's a lie. Monroe Freeling would be the best case scenario, falling to them at 17. I just don't see it. Caleb Lomu, you would expect like maybe he falls there to 17, but if you're someone like me and thinks he goes a lot higher, I've heard that they're apparently in love with Caden Proctor, but everyone that I speak to that is kind of, a lot more plugged into this kind of stuff than me seems to think that Caden Proctor is going to go a lot higher than people think. So I think the Lions are going to be sat there. Maybe we get to pick 10, pick
And
11.
Fletcher 1,000% agrees.
There we go. I was going to say, maybe they get to pick, even pick 8, 9, 10, 11, and they start seeing some tackles go off the board and they hit that button and they go, right, let's come up and let's get one of the tackles that we want because we just don't think he's going to be there at 17. So that's another team as well. But is the man himself has just popped in to give his quick thoughts on that.
I will say Brad Holmes has a history of coming up and getting up. If he thinks that a player that he loves is not going to be available, he has the history of making those phone calls. And I think if I just remind myself, geez, why can't I type? If you look at, obviously you've got Miami, Dallas, Rams, Baltimore, Tampa. Yes, the Rams could come up, but if the Rams don't go up, the Rams also, and you know what Les Snead is like, he also has a great relationship with Brad Holmes. I reckon you could potentially see if whoever the Rams want is not available there, the Rams could happily go back a few spots and maybe. So you've got you've not just got the capital to jump up for, the history of wanting to jump up and go and get your guy. And then you've got the relationship with teams in and around those spots there where you could see a deal being made, and quite a fair one that no one's going to get fleeced in that.
And this is where I'm worried as a Browns fan because I can sit here and say that trade back and Landon Freeling is the best case scenario, but the lowest I would be willing to go is 12 because, as you said there, 13. Whether it's the Rams that take Freeling or the Lions coming up for Freeling at 13, he goes there, in my opinion. So you can't go any lower than that. And then even then, you've got the Dolphins sat there at 11. Whoever the Dolphins want at 11, I'm sure is probably still going to be there at 12 or 13. So they could easily let that team jump them 1 or 2 spots over the Browns as well. So this is where I'm worried, Batch, as a Browns fan, where yes, the best case scenario is to trade back and get Monroe Freeling. But if you trade back to 12 and then the Lions jump you, you're sat there going, oh my God, that was embarrassing. So that's why I don't have as much of a problem as just taking Monroe Freeling at 6 as some others do. I don't have that. Yes, is it a bit of a reach? I understand that, but I just don't have that problem doing that because we can play this trade back game all we want, but that's doing it in a vacuum and acting like no other team is also involved in the draft and can also trade up and can also get involved in that stuff. So that's where it's interesting. I think we are going to get, and that's why I kind of said it earlier. Why I think the tackles available at 6 are going to be versus 24 is a much bigger gap than wide receiver because I see us having this kind of song and dance with these tackles between these picks like 20 to 10, as I said, between you guys, Fletch, than I do at wide receiver. I don't see any of these teams moving around for a Mackay Lemon or maybe a Casey Conception at 80. I just don't see that happening. Whereas I just see that happening with these tackles because, that's just the range for me, and that's where I'm worried. And if there's any team that does it, I think it's the Lions.
Yeah,
but that is the draft talk today. That is the episode for today. As I said at the start, please check the links in the description where you can see where you can follow all of my amazing co-hosts. You can go look at their beautiful faces and their beautiful social medias. You can also follow the network. It's not just NFL we talk about here at AAW. We talk college, we talk fantasy, we even in the future, hopefully talking Britball, all of that stuff. Come and find out. Come and join the community. We also have a Discord, etc. You can find all of that stuff in the description. But as always, thank you so much for watching. We appreciate everyone for tuning in. Batch, thank you so much for joining me. Tom, thank you so much for joining me. Most importantly, super producer Fletch, thank you so much for making this as easy as possible for someone like myself that has to come in here as Nick Foles, do the QB2 role, because Chapman has been banned because of the price of petrol. So, appreciate everything you do and appreciate all the listeners as well.
it wasn't the price of petrol. It's the money thing. I'm not gonna lie. It's the money thing.
Well,
And until he,
and I mean, seeing it is the end of the episode, and I think this is the only time I can get away with this. But if my flight gets cancelled in a couple of weeks' time because of the jet fuel shortage, then I myself will be joining the IRGC. Just kidding, UK government. That is obviously that was a joke. But thank you everyone for listening, and have a great day, evening, weekend, no, week.